You already know what a mandrill looks like. You've seen one in every zoo you've ever visited. You've seen one on a screen. If you grew up watching Disney's The Lion King, you've seen one there too. The character Rafiki, the wise, playful elder who holds Simba above the world, has the face of a mandrill. You think you understand them. Colorful, dramatic, almost theatrical. The most visually striking monkey on the planet. That image is exactly what makes them so dangerous. Because here is what most people are never told. The mandrill is not a colorful curiosity living peacefully in the African rainforest. It is the largest monkey species on Earth, operating under one of the most ruthlessly competitive hormonal systems in all of primate biology, capable of inflicting wounds that primate researchers describe with the same clinical language reserved for big cat attacks, and moving through a social structure so sophisticated that Charles Darwin himself called it unlike anything else in the entire class of mammals. The image you carry in your head of a mandrill, almost theatrical, almost painted, almost comic, is one of the most disarming impressions in all of nature. What it actually is something evolution spent millions of years building into a specific and terrible shape. And what evolution built, when it built the mandrill, was something that should command a level of fear. We have almost entirely failed to give it. To understand the mandrill, you first have to understand where it lives, and what living there demands. The equatorial rainforests of Gabon, Cameroon, and the Republic of Congo are not tranquil. They are dense, dark, resource-contested environments where fruit availability is seasonal. Foraging ranges are finite, and the competition between hundreds of individuals for the same trees, the same seeds, the same territory is constant and unrelenting. Every mandrill horde, and a mandrill horde is not a small group, holds a home range and defends access to it. The largest horde ever recorded in Lope National Park, Gabon, contained over 845 individuals. One study of a single horde in that same park found it composed of 21 dominant males, 71 subordinate and subadult males, 247 adult females, 200 juveniles, and 86 dependent infants, moving together, foraging together, competing together. That is the largest cohesive group of wild primates ever observed on Earth. Losing ground means losing food. Losing food means dying. In this environment, the mandrill did not evolve to be peaceful. It evolved to dominate, and the toolkit it developed for dominance starts with the body. A male mandrill stands roughly 90 centimeters tall and weighs between 19 and 30 kilograms. By comparison to the great apes, that sounds modest. It is not. The mandrill is the largest monkey alive, not an ape. A monkey. The distinction matters because it means this animal achieves its physical capability within a body plan we routinely underestimate. It is compact, powerful, and built for ground-level movement and confrontation. Its arms are long, its chest is broad, and its legs carry enough force to propel it at speeds that leave a human being well behind. And then, there are the teeth. The canine teeth of a male mandrill can reach 6.35 centimeters in length, not millimeters, centimeters. That approaches or exceeds the canine length of many large predators, including, in some documented specimens, the leopard. They are narrow, curved, and built to penetrate. They are not used defensively, the way an animal lashes out when cornered. They are used strategically, in dominance confrontations, in territorial disputes, in the sustained aggression that defines mandrill social life from the moment a male reaches maturity. Research from Durham University confirmed that males with canines shorter than 30 millimeters are almost never observed siring offspring. The canine is not decoration. It is a biological credential, a license to exist at the top of one of the most intensely competitive primate societies on Earth. It is also, when used on flesh, an instrument capable of producing injuries that veterinary researchers classify alongside wounds from large carnivores: deep lacerations, tendon severance, penetration to bone. Documented incidents involving mandrill aggression are not as widely publicized as attacks by the great apes. That is not because they are less severe. In Franceville, Gabon, at the International Center for Medical Research, researchers documented something that had never before been recorded in the scientific literature on this species. A male mandrill, the alpha of his group, the dominant individual who held breeding rights over every female in that population, was injured in a fight with a rival male. He was incapacitated, unable to flee. What happened next is described in the published record with the restraint that science requires. The females of the group organized. Multiple adult females, along with adolescent females, formed a coalition and attacked the incapacitated male. The attack was sustained. Other adult males in the group observed it happening. One male attempted to participate and was immediately driven away by the females, who continued without him. The researchers noted this was not defensive behavior. It was not provoked in any conventional sense. It was a coordinated, coalition-based decision to eliminate a specific individual, executed at the moment of maximum vulnerability.
Relations can sometimes get tense. Delphine carefully observes the behavior of the dominant male. She tries to calm him with a grimace, but he doesn't react.
By a group that had identified the opportunity and acted on it. This is the detail that almost never makes it into any account of mandrill behavior. The violence is not random. It is not impulsive. It is organized. And the targeting is consistent with what the teeth are built to do. Mandrill bites documented in captivity produce deep lacerations, tendon damage, and tissue injuries that veterinarians describe as requiring the same treatment protocols used for large carnivore attacks. These animals are not biting defensively. They bite with the full mechanical commitment of an animal whose canines evolved over millions of years. For exactly this. That quality, the coordinated, deliberate, opportunistic nature of the violence, does not come from instinct in any simple sense. It comes from the fact that these animals are watching. The social structure of the mandrill is one of the most complex and least understood systems in all of primate biology. At the center of it is something that researchers at Durham University described after years of study in the following terms. Male mandrills live in a permanently aggressive context, in which they must actively maintain their dominant status at all times. Not during mating season, not during periods of resource scarcity, permanently. The mechanism by which this operates is one of the most remarkable biological systems documented in any mammal. A mandrill's face is not simply colorful, it is a live display of its hormonal state. The red along the muzzle, the blue ridging along the cheekbones, the vividness of the coloration on the posterior. All of it tracks testosterone in real time. When a male rises in dominance rank, his face becomes redder, his flanks become larger, the secretions from his chest gland increase, and his testicles enlarge. When he falls from power, those same characteristics begin to reverse. His face fades, his body changes. The biological record of his status is written visibly on his skin, and every other mandrill in the horde is reading it. Darwin, who studied this animal carefully, wrote that no other member in the whole class of mammals is colored in so extraordinary a manner as the adult male mandrill. What he was documenting, without the hormonal science available to him, was an honest signal system of extraordinary precision, a body that cannot lie about the state of the animal inside it. Males with the brightest coloration fight more. They challenge more. The research is explicit. Males of similar coloration show elevated aggression, more frequent confrontations, and more tense standoffs than males whose color difference signals a clear hierarchy. The face is a weapon and a target. Females, meanwhile, run their own parallel hierarchy, matrilineal, inherited through the female line, stable across generations. Dominant females determine access to food and to high-status males. And, as the Franceville study showed, those females are entirely capable of organizing lethal collective action when the circumstances demand it. Perhaps the most underreported aspect of mandrill behavior is what it does outside of social conflict. The mandrill is a predator, not exclusively. Its diet is primarily fruit and seeds, but documented field observations in Cameroon have recorded mandrills hunting and consuming bay dukers, small forest antelopes. The predation pattern is specific, attacking the head, pulling the hind legs, consuming the thigh muscles first. This is not opportunistic scavenging. The researchers who published this observation noted that the behavior matched patterns documented in captive mandrills given live prey, which means the hunting technique is learned and transmitted, not accidental. An animal that hunts, that coordinates group violence, that maintains a permanent internal hierarchy enforced through testosterone, color, and canine display, that moves through rainforest in hordes of hundreds, and whose canines rival those of large predators, as forests shrink across Gabon, Cameroon, and Equatorial Guinea. Mandrill habitat is being cleared for agriculture, logging, and mining, at a rate that is pushing these animals into increasing contact with human settlements. The IUCN lists the mandrill as vulnerable, with population estimates suggesting a decline of more than 30% over the past 2 decades. The animals entering the edges of human territory are not well fed and socially stable. They are displaced, stressed, and carrying the full weight of a permanently aggressive social system into spaces where humans have no framework for what they are encountering. A mandrill under resource pressure is a mandrill with elevated cortisol, elevated testosterone, and lowered inhibition, the worst possible version of an already formidable animal. An animal that moves in groups large enough to overwhelm any individual response. That has canines built for penetration, and no evolutionary history of caution around the species now clearing its forest. Local communities in these zones do not view mandrills as Rafiki. They view them as they rationally should, as large, fast, heavily armed primates, with social structures sophisticated enough to organize coordinated violence, and no particular reason to hesitate. The mandrill's population status is classified as vulnerable. Its precise numbers are unknown. The density of the habitat it prefers makes systematic counting nearly impossible, which means the range of estimates is wide and almost certainly optimistic. The animal with canines built for penetration. That runs a live hormonal broadcast on its face, that organizes coalition attacks, that hunts with technique, that moves in the largest cohesive primate group on Earth, that has lived in equatorial Africa for millions of years, developing a social and biological system of terrifying sophistication that we have barely begun to document. It is losing ground, and here is the hardest thing to hold in your mind, all at once. The mandrill is not evil. It is not malevolent. It is not even, by its own standards, cruel. It is exactly what millions of years of evolution under the most intense primate competition on Earth produces. Its biology is honest. Its violence is purposeful. Its social complexity is extraordinary. And its face, those colors, that display, that live readout of internal state, is a mirror of a kind we rarely encounter in nature. A mirror that shows you exactly what the animal inside is feeling, and exactly what it is prepared to do. Charles Darwin looked at a mandrill and wrote that nothing in the entire class of mammals matched it. He was not talking about the colors. He was talking about what the colors meant. We put it in a children's film and gave it wisdom and gave it kindness and gave it a name. And somewhere in the rainforests of Gabon, in a horde of 800 animals, the real version of that animal is doing what it has always done. Watching, calculating, waiting for the moment to be exactly right. And it does not know who Simba is.